have been looking forward to this day for such a long time. I have been thinking about doing a podcast since launching the Free Mama movement all the way back in 2017. It's been sort of on my list of things to do, but if you are not new to me, you know that I am quite the prioritizer. I love to achieve goals one at a time, and it just wasn't the right time until now, until this moment. And I am so excited to share this vision with you because this podcast is going to be a lot different than many of the other resources that are inside of the Free Mama community. And I'll tell you about those here in a little bit. But first, I just cannot emphasize enough how much this podcast launch is looking different than I thought it would. So at the day that I am recording this, to tell you what you can expect from Free Mama Radio and how we can connect with each other and what this is all about and what is super amazing that is to come from our future guests and all of the things we have planned, I just thought it would look a little different. I own a super nice microphone and headphones that I bought a very long time ago and seldom use. And I thought for sure the podcast would be the time when I would get those out. And the reality is we are in a really strange time in our world. I am actually under quarantine right now with my family. And if I'm being fully transparent, I am sitting in my car in Katy, Texas, and parked out inside in front of my house as all of my children are inside watching a movie and singing and jumping around and playing. And frankly, the house was just too darn noisy for me to get this done. And I'm sure that a lot of you moms can completely relate to this idea of things maybe not going as you expect them to, or having a goal for the day, thinking you're going to get something accomplished and your family maybe has something else in mind. And so it is not lost on me that this exact scenario that I am in this moment is a scenario that I have lived many times over in terms of having to get creative and accommodate and maybe change my expectations or my timeline about what something might look like in order to get it accomplished. So as I'm sitting here in my car, and it is starting to get toasty because I live in Katy, Texas, and it is summer 9 months out of the year, I am just so reflective on this unique situation that we're in and how grateful I am to have a business where I'm able to work from home. And that's what this podcast is all about. The whole idea behind why we're doing this, the mission about why a podcast, you have a Facebook group, we have this community already, you've got a YouTube channel, why are we doing this podcast? And the answer to that question is because while everything inside of the Free Mama and the Free Mama movement comes back to our mission, nothing is 100% geared towards it. And so let me tell you what that mission is. My mission, the reason that I believe I was literally placed here on this planet and experienced all of the things that I did leading up until this point is because of this. And that is that I believe no mother should have to choose between family and financial stability. And in our first couple episodes, I'll tell you a little bit more about my story and why this topic is so particularly important to me, why I'm so passionate about it. But I'm guessing that if you're listening, you're probably a mom and you probably have bills. Those are two assumptions I can probably make about you right off the bat. And if that's the case, there's a really good chance that you have experienced some of the feelings that I've had in my life. And that might be overwhelm. That might be feeling out of control over how you spend your time. I know when I was working a 9 to 5, one of the most frustrating things for me in my life was this idea that I could finish my work for the day at noon, but I had to be a seat warmer until 5 o'clock. This concept never made sense to me. And so that's where my obsession with time developed from. And so you'll hear a lot about time management on this podcast because it's something that I think is super important. And as a society, we focus a lot about money, right? It's a topic that's taboo, yet at the same time, we all need it. We all have to have it to survive. And I'm going to teach you how you can make it. I'm going to teach you how you can make it easier than maybe you thought you ever could. And hopefully help you discover a wealth and abundance mindset of your own that I think will help you change your life. But the truth is, we can always make more money. Money doesn't grow on trees, but there's a plenty of it out there. And the one thing we can't get more back is time. And so, how do we, as mothers, create these tiny humans? And whether you dreamt of being a stay at home mom or not, there's a chance that something inside of you changed. There was a shift. I know there was for me. And I did grow up with a stay at home mom. That's what I thought motherhood should look like. But if you've heard my story before, you know that that first day back from maternity leave, even though there was makeup smeared on my face from the tears, I actually realized that I love working. I love working. I love challenging myself. I love helping other people. And I do love making money. And I love teaching other people how to do it as well. However, I knew that the confines of a 9 to 5 weren't working for me, and that I wasn't able to show up as the mom that I wanted to be, and that my kids were growing up quickly, and that I didn't want to miss important moments with them. And whether I decided to have them home with me full time, which we did for a period, we've had intermittently for periods, at different times throughout my kids' childhood so far, we've also done the daycare thing and the in-home care and preschools and part-time preschools. And now I'm, fortunate that I don't have to make those decisions because 2 of my kids are in school now. And the truth is, like many of you, I just wanted to make those decisions for myself. I didn't want to put my kids in preschool because I had to. I wanted to because I wanted to, because I chose to, because I thought it was what was best for them and what was best for me and what was best for our family. I know what it's like to feel like you're sacrificing one for the other. I know what it's like to be overwhelmed and stressed out and feel like you're failing in all aspects of your life. I remember when Daphne, my oldest kiddo, when she was little, and I remember being in the car multiple hours a day during our commute, and more days than not, I would have to put on my sunglasses to hide my tears. I was exhausted. I felt like I was failing as a mom, and I felt like I was going to work, and even though I was good at my job, I felt somehow like I was failing there too, like it was never enough. And during these years, the behind the scenes truth is that my marriage wasn't doing super stellar during this time. I was not prioritizing my husband the way that he needed to be seen and heard. He came last on the list because I had this tiny human who needed me. I had an employer who had all of these expectations of me for a set number of hours a day. And I just felt like I was falling apart. And so I knew deep down in my gut that that's not what life had to look like. I knew that there had to be more. I knew that I had to find a way to be financially safe, if not eventually financially, wealthy and flourishing. But to start, I knew I needed to feel financially safe, but I couldn't do that while compromising my role as a wife, as a woman, and as a mother. And so I set out on a pursuit of having it all. And by having it all, I don't mean what we hear sometimes in the media of having a mansion and having, these crazy cars and exotic vacations. I mean, to each their own. If that's what you aspire to, go nuts. But for me, it really just meant the simple things. It meant being able to take a vacation with my family if we wanted to go on a vacation. It meant being able to show up for my friends when they invited me to do stuff instead of checking my bank account and being like, yikes, I can't do that again. I wanted to be able to make decisions based on my best interests and based on what would bring me joy and what would allow me to be the best version of myself. And a 9 to 5 for me was not allowing me to do that. But I really floundered because I'm a competitive person. I'm an ambitious person. I'm very driven. And so during these years, this is when the lean in movement was starting. And I felt like, am I failing womanhood by not pursuing a career? But I knew in my heart that I would be doing it at the expense of my family. And on the other end of things, even though I had grown up with a stay-at-home mom and I thought that's what motherhood would look like for me, I felt inadequate, if I'm honest, compared to some of the other stay-at-home moms that I knew at the time. I'm not crafty. I'm not creative. I would look at things on Pinterest and they just stressed me out. And I'm like, maybe I'm not cut out for that either. And the truth is, there's a lot of gray area in between of what being a good mom looks like, what being a financial provider looks like. And so I set out on this quest to do it for myself, to make sure that I wasn't choosing between financial stability and my family. And what I learned over time and what I'll share with you later in these episodes is not only how I did it, but how I shifted from my own personal journey and figuring it out and the things that I tried and what worked and what didn't and what brought me joy and what didn't. And finally realizing that this whole quest that I had set out on wasn't really about me at all. It was an important step in the journey because it's what equipped me with the tools and the stories to be able to hopefully serve you. But it's not about me. It's about you. It's about you. And that's why I'm here. If you also believe what I believe, if you believe that you shouldn't have to sacrifice one for the other, if you believe that you can have it all, financial stability, financial security, even wealth, and an amazing family life, an amazing relationship with your partner, an amazing relationship with yourself and taking care of yourself, your mind, body, and soul, your children, and showing up for them how you believe that you should be as a parent, because I am not a parenting expert. And I know that we all have different goals for our families. And my mission is to help you show up as that person, whatever that looks like for you. So if that's what you believe as well, I hope that you get behind this podcast and you tune in and that I can serve you, because I do believe that I know what it feels like to be in your shoes right now. I've walked this walk, and now this podcast is how I can give back to hopefully help you achieve your goals as well. So that's my intention for why we're here. That's why we're starting Free Mama Radio. It's not necessarily your step-by-step how-to, we have those resources. We've got courses, and I have Free Mama TV over on YouTube, which is how-tos all day long. Don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying you're going to not get massive value from this podcast. You are, but everything will center around the mission. All of our guests, all of our topics will be to serve you at the highest capacity on this very particular goal.